Welcome. This is All Free, a podcast for collective liberation. My name is Hannah Claire Smith. I'm your co-host.
And I'm Dima Tamimi. Welcome today. We are very happy to have a guest with us today, Haneen Sabbah. I'm going to just read a little bit about her from her Instagram bio. And then Haneen, please jump in and elaborate more if you'd like. Falahi Gazan, mother, activist, organizer. Life is too short. Let Gaza live. Welcome, Haneen.
Thanks for joining us, Haneen.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
I would love to just kind of better understand your background, Haneen. I know little pieces and I've heard you share some pieces, but just for the audience here, can you share a little bit about yourself?
Thank you. I am a Palestinian woman from Gaza, from Fallahi collective. Fallah means peasants. I'm not sure if this is the right word. The people who work with the land, with the earth. I come from background of family over generations that tend to the land, work with it, plant trees, and grow vegetables and take care for the animals. So there's this kind of reality that I grew up with in a way, like nature was a big part of my life and my family lineage. And even through the different generations, we stayed connected to the land. Like even after my grandparents were displaced in the Nakba in 1948, from Bet Tima to Gaza, they bought a piece of land and it still remained with us, this work with the land, and planted like plenty of olive trees and orange trees and lemon trees. So yeah, this is very big part of the identity somehow. And I grew up in Gaza. I was born and raised in Gaza. I was born in 1993 and in the north of Gaza Strip. I would say Gaza Strip because we have Gaza City and this is the center of Gaza, and Gaza Strip is the whole strip. In Gaza, I was doing activism work and I was working with projects like We Are Not Numbers. And We Are Not Numbers, they are a platform like co-founded by a Palestinian and an American activist that supported Palestinian cause to amplify youth voices, to speak about the reality and the siege, living under siege in Gaza, and different voices from Palestine, like also from West Bank, Palestinians in Lebanon, in the refugee camps, and all across the Arab countries. And this platform was really like a savior for me in a way in Gaza when I was living there. It was a way, like a space to be able to express my reality in a way, which varies from different layers of one part is the occupation and another part is the culture, and how these two in a way intertwine in a woman life, the Palestinian woman life as well in Gaza, in Palestine. And I was also supporting in the translation of when people wanted to spread the message to the world and share about their life in Gaza. I would support them and do some translation work for them. And lastly, I was part of translating for the journalists on the Great March of Return and sitting with people in Gaza from like protesting non-violently against the occupation, against the siege, against all what made life so difficult on the Gazans. And in that, it was really like a big part of my life, how to see how people are so graceful and they just wanted to live in peace, and they didn't choose that reality, that it was forced on them. I was one of them also. And then I left Gaza 2018, and now I'm based in Portugal.
Thank you, Haneen. Haneen, you recently wrote that 2024 was both hard and beautiful. And I think a lot of us feel that way, but I'd love for you to kind of elaborate on how I think well, we understand the hard part, but everybody has a personally different reason why it was hard, and then we have the common reason. But then also I'd love to hear about the beautiful part for you.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, I would start with why it was beautiful for me, and then I would go for the hard part. Uh, why it was beautiful because I personally, to me, and maybe this is collectively, I feel there's much more awareness about the Palestinian cause and much more
Yeah.
uh, solidarity movement growing and supportive of the Palestinian people to really voice what is happening through the brutal occupation. And
Yeah.
this is one of the reasons why. But also personally, for me, it was a year full of meeting new people, joining gatherings, joining different collectives, and finding really my community in a way, my people in a way. Many people I call friends now that I have made throughout this year. Uh, one of them is also like the Ripple Collective. I can talk about them a little bit later. Joining this collective has created this kind of feeling that, okay, you find this project, you met amazing people, creative people that want to keep amplifying and keeping making the change that we wish to see. And more to that, I just live in a really paradise place, like here in the south of Portugal, like very close to the ocean and in nature, where I where I feel really safe, where I feel really safe. But the difficult part, of course, is to really bring back the body to the earth, to the now, while genocide is happening.
Mm.
Because I was like physically in Portugal, but my heart, my mind, everything was in Gaza. So it was very hard for me to be present in this reality while thinking about my family like all the time. This is where I start to really like needing to work very, very hard to be able to just be in the moment and be with what I need to do for my children, for the school, for the meetings I have, the work I have. But often all I was thinking and busy with is if my family is alive and okay. And it was taking a toll on me. Like I wasn't really able to make this distinguish in a way.
Mhm.
And one of the hardest things that happened for me is to lose family and people that I loved and I known all my life. It made it really dark for me. It made it really dark because I cannot believe that they are actually no longer with us.
Mm.
And one of the hardest thing also about what's happening in Gaza now in the genocide, I would say it's me, but also many people, is the way that people got killed, the way that people died in such violent way that that really, yeah, that really is shaking in the body. No matter how much hard we try to be at, I don't know, at acceptance of what is happening to them and that they died. I needed to accept that they died, but I cannot accept the way they died. And
Mm.
this is for me still something I'm working with. Um, yeah, the hardest part was this genocide going through, and to see all these people dying, innocent people, innocent lives, including my family, my relatives, my loved ones. And to be honest, to see my beloved Gaza town getting completely flattened, um, yeah, it's not something that is easy to witness. It's really like I can't believe it. I'm still feeling it so surreal. It's just
Mm.
so surreal, beyond what we can really comprehend and understand. Yeah. it's a complex reality, but one of the things that really helped me is having this community that I can call home, that I can call like family, and having this kind of and being surrounded by these kind of people that are fighting for liberation, that are fighting for a better reality, or just being there doing what we can, even if it's grieving together, if it's singing together, if it's creating art together, if it's talking. That's that was also a lot of the things that has made me feel grounded and helped me to ground throughout this year. And I, one of the recent experiences, like the hardest recent experiences, was that I was working with someone from Gaza that I know. And then the last days before the ceasefire, this person, we just lost him. We lost touch of him and we don't know where he is.
Mm.
Ahmed Al-Alami. And this is one of the recent like events that really stayed in a way with me. But at the same time, it's, yeah, I don't know how we keep going. We love life. We love to live. I also always ask myself, how do we keep going as people, as collective, as individuals? How can we keep going? But then life finds its way of like pushing you and teaching you how to move forward. And I'm grateful for it with all the good and the bad. There's a lot of gratitude.
Wow, it's beautiful to hear you to say that you're grateful for it. I mean, I think that's what I found in when you said that, this year's been hard and beautiful, what the way that you explained it in just right now, but also in your writing, it resonated so much. And when you say things like, we love life, whenever I hear that, it just, it makes you understand how you can hold these really hard things and these also really beautiful things at the same time. And what you said about community being what really helped you in those darkest and hardest moments and continues to help you. I think that will resonate with so many people because I think people are feeling that whether they are part of Palestine and Israel, or the Palestinian liberation movement or not. I think a lot of people right now are feeling that their only way through all these hard times is through their community.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I agree. Yeah. It's through community coming back to the earth and the land and to learn how to work with it.
Yeah.
It's to connect, to connecting the dots through different communities and different learnings and ways of making life happen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Haneen, thank you for sharing, and I'm so sorry for your losses. You did
Mm.
immeasurable. I'm wondering, and kind of elaborating on the community piece, what type of people have you connected with and surrounded yourself with in the past year and a half that have really helped to give you strength and resilience during this time?
People like there was different types. Like there was friends that live close by in the area where I am now, and that has been always checking up on me and supporting me when I need something. And there is this wider network of the activism and communities, and one of them is like the Ripples Collective, and we were together since August last year. But it started before because we were meeting on the Zoom um, and preparing for our time together in August in the UK in the Medicine Festival. And in these kind of meetings, there was a point of like, yes, we have things to talk about to address about work, but there was also this togetherness and the real care and the real connection, and that was really part of like feeling like okay, there is a space where you can bring the things and the pain and the everything as it is, no filters needed.
Mm.
And I appreciated this kind of spaces. And the other one was um, was like a sharing circle that I was part of online, grieving for Gaza. And this was a space that would be just sharing for people just from Gaza who are diaspora that live across the world. It's called Grieving for Gaza, specific and run by a group of people that are from Gaza, but based in Canada. And this kind of spaces, like I always would put myself in this kind of spaces because the moment I'm feeling like alone, I get overwhelmed with the whole situation. So the solution was to not be alone
Mm.
and not to stop doing things that put the energy of grief and anger and the feelings of helplessness into something, even if it's planting. So for me, it was really this combination of the two things to keep going. No, but maybe it's also a survival thing because when you are in survival, you need to keep going also. And that's how it felt this period of time, that there was also some survival mood activated. Um,
Mm.
but it somehow worked. The combination of community and circles and being here and doing also some joining some solidarity movements and activism here in Portugal has kept me in my sanity. Yeah, yeah.
A lot of what you're saying, Haneen, reminds me of the word, and it's one of my favorite words. And it's a Palestinian kind of cultural word, samud. And I don't know whether you love that word, but like everything you're talking about, all that you go through and yet continue, and it means steadfast. So, um, do you think that sometimes leaning on those things, like your culture, the Palestinian culture, and the sort of reverence for resilience and being steadfast is also something that helps you get through these dark times?
I would say yes and, and no at the same time. Sumud in the middle of genocide was very triggering for me.
Oh,
Word it was a word very triggering. Why? Because um, I was really having enough of these words of people praising people in Gaza, treating them like superhumans
okay.
or like different. And I'm like, no, they are just humans. You
Mm,
know, what they're going through is like the worst that a human can
right.
ever go through, can possibly ever go through. And so in my head, and like I couldn't wire the two things together. But like this was in the beginning, like sometimes December, beginning of last year, I was like, I can't hear the word sumud. Like, I can't hear the word sumud. Like, no, people don't have to accept that. People don't have to live with that.
Yeah.
And I thought this is what people meant. But many people explained that they didn't mean it that way, that it's okay. But they are meaning that they are strong and they will stay there strong and standing no matter what the occupation tries to do.
Yeah.
And once I made that connection, then yeah, I started to have a different relationship with the word sumud. And somehow it was the fuel that was feeding me to
Mm,
keep going in the middle of all this craziness and get out of the helplessness. But again, I try to do it with the delicacy of not putting too much on what a human can handle, what a human can be. Because in the end of the day, we are just humans. We want to be able to live, we want to be able to hug our family, have a dinner with them, and just live a normal life. We don't want to be heroes because I'm saying we, because I used to live in Gaza and I know the
yeah.
nightmare, the hell. And this is even worse. This is by far the worst war that Gaza have ever gone through and the people of Gaza have ever gone through. But I know the hell and the horrors of war and what it can do to a human for a lifetime. It really leaves in a way, a scar, how to say it. But coming back to the word sumud and the resilience, it really it really connects because it's not diminishing the wound. It's not saying that it's not there. The wound is there, and it's continuous. It's not stopping also. But at the same time, you find there's this inner strength through what our ancestors did before us. It's really a continuation. We are a continuation of the ancestors. And to really connect with that line of strength through the culture, through cooking, the food, the Palestinian food, showing films, watching films with friends about Palestine, and even doing the dance on Palestinian music. I've been listening to more Palestinian music in the last year, actually.
Me
And
too.
all these different aspects of it really brought me in a different level with the word sumud. Now it's more like a positive aspect to it, but still,
Yeah.
it's an interesting combination, to be honest. Yeah.
I think about when people say, "Oh, Palestinians are so courageous, oh, they're so brave, oh," and then or steadfast and resilient and some mood, and then there's this feeling of like no people group should have
Should
to
have to.
have the steadfastness necessary to still stand after a genocide. Like
Yeah,
that's
it's true.
always for me underneath those words because
Yeah.
it's sometimes
Yeah.
when people do use those words, even courageous, they do it to make themselves feel more comfortable. They're like, oh, I couldn't go through what these people are going through, but they seem to be stronger than me. So they'll be able
Mm.
to, withstand it. And yeah, I can definitely hear how that can come across a variety of different ways.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And they had it also before that people were calling me courageous. And I told him, I was responding, we don't have the leverage. We don't have that privilege. Like,
Mm.
No.
so stop calling us brave. We are surviving. We are just trying to survive the craziness of and the madness of this world. Uh, and just finding our ways, just like any other nations that kept going until they survive and then until their liberation. So yeah, it somehow means it means a lot of things. We are courageous in a way because also we keep going, we have the strength.
Mm.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't want people to get used to it. We want to end this
Yeah.
confusion. It's enough of blood. It's enough of pain. It's enough of killing of innocent lives and ruining people's lives. Like people can't even live a proper normal day in Palestine, like in Gaza or if it's West Bank. And even when I'm living my normal day here, I'm always thinking of how in Palestine they are not able to live this normal days like we are living, like I'm living here, for example. So, yeah, but all these kind of thoughts, it's coming from two
Yeah.
mixed realities that I'm experiencing. So that's why yeah, it's coming up.
Haneen, I admire your work. I guess I was introduced to you a little over a year ago when I moderated a talk that you were on, and since then I've been following you and seeing your writing and seeing your engagement with art and poetry and music. And one of the things that I feel that when I feel overwhelmed and I feel angry and I feel like it's really hard for me to engage in that kind of work, I can go on the street in a protest and yell. I can, I can do some good strategizing even in that, but to be connected to have the heart connection and the presence necessary to bring about art and the liberation movement is your ability to do that and the art that you have created and your words that you write continue to inspire me. It's really, really beautiful. I would love to hear a little bit about why and how you see art and rituals and some of the stuff with Ripple Collective and music playing such a critical role in this movement for collective liberation.
Yeah, one of the things actually that supported me the most is art and music. I didn't stop listening to music, so like I really more and more to listen to music and connect in this way because it's really like something to connect us different emotional things. And sometimes it is yelling in a protest. I was doing that a lot actually, going protest and yell a lot, but also finding solitude in the writing also. And all these kind of art and ways of expression, it's really ways to express. I think it's very important because also with what we do with the Ripples Collective, we do the ritual of collective liberation ritual through storytelling, through music and art, and bringing ourselves for real. And this is really something that is that the new times of life is asking us all to do, to really be real and bring yourself, no filters, through the authentic self and what it can come from there, and connecting all of that. It's very important to put heart into activism because when we get to a point of like frustration and not being able to know what to do, it's really comes from a point of like giving up in a way. And we can't have that. We can't give up because we don't have the choice to give up. And when we don't give up, and when we nourish ourselves, when we take the time and the chance to be with each other, to listen to each other, and to express through art, through writing, through music, through whatever way of coming together, this by itself is nourishing. And then it can help us go further and further and further. I always see myself how I am when I'm after a meeting or a gathering, or how I am when I'm just a week alone thinking with my thoughts and what I can do next. So it's like a fuel. It's like really getting yourself fueled by allowing yourself to go through this different art. Like, for example, the ritual and the ceremonies and the sharing circles. It's all parts that are intertwined and connecting the dots together to fuel us to stay connected and not disconnect.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I think I love hearing you talk about how art both was for you something that art and writing was something that is like healing and helpful for you, but then it's also all about yet again community and gathering and creating these connections which allow you to be a whole person and be okay in this time. Something you said reminded me of Bassem Tamimi. Ahed Tamimi in her book wrote that they had like a big protest, and protesters had come from all over the world, and they had a protest in their town. And I think one of the first ones, they didn't gather and have food together, and they just everybody just like had to figure out their way home, and it was so upsetting to Bassem that that had happened because he knew how important it was for people to gather and actually get to know each other and have this sort of deeper connection. And so that was part of, as they were building the movement in their town and doing more and more work, they made it a point of gathering and sometimes playing music and eating together. And I've seen that so much this past year, that's where I feel like people are getting a lot of their resilience and their ability to go through things, and is being with one another and feeling joy with one another, even in these darkest of times. And art, food, music plays such a huge role in it. So
Yeah.
It seems to also help like live out collective liberation, live out liberation and freedom. I think sometimes when we just intellectualized movements and we're not
Yeah.
embodying it, it can be a little bit more difficult to to even think as big and to be able to imagine a future that truly is better and more beautiful. And when we can be connected with each other, when we can be in the art and the music, we can embody that. And that is critical, like longevity wise, and on the other piece as well. And I did see a couple clips from the Ripple Collective. It really feels like for the audience members, it was the introduction of liberation, not here, but like here. It's
Mhm.
beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, I also was following a lot of art from other people like that were posting and expressing. I love to see how people express themselves and their feelings, the joys of life and the moments of life. And that's how we get to it because we are outside in a way, but we are still in it, but still to how to make the two worlds connect because joy is has become like this radical thing in these times, like the most radical to to stay with joy and to know that it is a resistance tool to
Hmm.
to be
Yes.
with the joy and to appreciate it and to appreciate these moments that life has to offer. Yeah,
Yeah, I
there's a
definitely,
lot of it.
Yeah.
yeah, I agree with you that joy is both resilience and resistance. And art, poetry, music helps us get there together.
Hmm.
Yeah.
We were
Mm.
talking before we started recording about everybody having a role to play. And I think what you shared was very important for a lot of us to understand because sometimes we want to, go wherever help is needed. And sometimes we want to address what's happening right now, and sometimes that can be overwhelming to be a person from the outside asking, okay, what can I do to help? I just need to put myself somewhere. You talked about everybody having a role, but that role looking very different for each person. Can you share a little bit more about that?
Yeah, thank you. I think it's really important in the collective liberation movement to realize that we have all different roles that we can play. Like I'm playing different role, and Hannah's playing different role. Dima is playing different role. That it's all contributing into the better world that we wish to see for our children and the future generations. And I always get asked this question: What can I do? How can we make it better? And I always tell them that it's really based on what you feel in your heart and what you can do really from an honest, strong place.
Mm.
Because if you do out of how do I say it? Out of helplessness, then it's not gonna come off in a way the same strong way as it is from coming out of uh, power place of like feeling, yeah, that's my motivation is love. Is because I love, I move, I act, I show solidarity. Because when we are like out of desperation and not recognizing that I cannot do someone else's role in America, for example, or someone else's role in Egypt. So how can we bring them all together and to recognize that we are all planting seeds for the next days to come? I really like I used to not think that way. I used to feel that what can I do? I'm the one like the savior or something, or how can I keep mobilizing myself and draining myself and my energy? But then the moment I realized, like, okay, no, we need to keep doing what we can, but also like to really connect with other fellow communities and see what can we do. What am I being best in service at? right now? What serves? And that really shifted things for me. Intentions, what serves, and it really helped put things in perspective. And since then, I always tell people, whoever asks me what I need to do, I'm like, show solidarity wherever truthful way for you. Even if it's protesting, yeah, go and protest. If it's raising funds, yeah, go and raise funds. If you want to go to the West Bank to support against the settlers' violence, also go and do that. And that to understand that we can all do what we can. And again, not to connect it to the global situation, because there's also different places in the world that are suffering a lot also, like Sudan, like Congo, and other places. At least these are the ones coming in my mind right now, and Myanmar, and how to widen the solidarity movement, that it can involve all the different crisis areas and societies to really be able to support them with what we can. And this is and like collective liberation, and once we understand that each one does something, then we can all see the bigger picture. I'm not sure how to explain it, but yeah, it's to connect to the bigger picture. Yeah.
Really well
That's one
said.
of the reasons. Yeah, I love that. And that's one of the reasons why we often end on like, and then that's why collective liberation is
Yes.
so, it is so, it connects all the dots of all these things. And um, everyone has a role to play in collective liberation,
Mm-hmm.
literally everyone. And
Yes, totally.
it's all of us around the world have a role to play in that.
Mhm.
And we all benefit from everyone being free. So yeah, I loved how you
Yes. No
did it.
one is free until we are all free.
Yeah, 100%. With that, do we want to jump into a poem from you, Haneen?
I would love to share a poem that I wrote about home and belonging. I will read it in English. It's translated, but I will read it in English. A chair is still a chair, even if there is no one sitting there. Our home is still our home, even if it was flattened with bombs. Our home is alive. My home is still alive, rocking with many, many years and memories of 4 generations. Our garden that was feeding us with vegetables and fruits. Our olive grove that was giving us oil and olives. They are alive. They are still alive. I feel their spirit in my veins. And our swing that held us and held our kids will keep its memory. Israel have flattened my home, my parents' home, my grandparents' home, and all the memories and the toys and the old pictures and our belongings. 2018 was the last time I have been into my home and said farewell, but never expected that it was forever farewell.
That's beautiful.
Thank you so much for sharing, Haneen.
Yeah, thank you, Haneen.